स्लाइड दिख रहा है मुझे जी। ओके मैडम, ओके ओके जी जी हाँ। हेलो, आई एम कनेक्टेड।
ओके, थैंक यू सर, वेलकम सर।
हाँ जी जी, बस हमें स्क्रीन शेयरिंग का इसमें ऑप्शन मैं देख रहा था, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग का।
सर स्क्रीन शेयरिंग का सर,
हाँ स्क्रीन,
जहाँ पे वेबिनार न्यूट्रिशन 2020 इज प्रेजेंटिंग आ रहा है सर, वहां से देखिए।
अच्छा मैं वही ढूंढ रहा हूँ इसमें, टर्न ऑन कैप्शन।
हेलो चंद्रकांत।
नहीं अभी दिखा नहीं मुझे।
अच्छा सर,
सर स्क्रीन पे प्रेजेंट नाउ लिखा होगा राइट साइड कॉर्नर में, बॉटम में, प्रेजेंट नाउ।
हाँ प्रेजेंट नाउ, यस यस। तो मैं अपना स्क्रीन शेयरिंग,
प्रेजेंट नाउ में आप क्लिक करके और
हाँ
विंडो आप कर सकते हैं,
हाँ
या
योर
एंटायर,
एंटायर स्क्रीन।
हाँ एंटायर स्क्रीन दोनों आप कर
हाँ
सकते हैं। विंडो आप करिएगा तो आपका मतलब पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन अलग से आप खुद देख सकते हैं।
ओके, मैं देख रहा हूँ अभी। अ, हाँ वो आपने कहाँ बताया था, मैं फिर से वो गायब हो गया। हाँ प्रेजेंट नाउ, यस यस आई एम डूइंग इट, यस। उसमें हाँ विंडो, यस मैं विंडो करता हूँ, ओके। हाँ मुझे मिल गया स्क्रीन, यस यस। तो मैं अभी स्क्रीन अपना कर दूं सामने।
हाँ
यस सर।
आई थिंक दिस इज सफिशिएंट।
चंद्रकांत।
बस आप मुझे टाइम बताइएगा।
या सर मैं बताऊंगी।
हाँ
हेलो
हाँ हाँ
रचना मैम, हेलो।
हाँ गरिमा।
हाँ मैम, स्पीकर्स हमारे साथ हैं, स्टार्ट करूं?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल स्टार्ट करो।
संगीता मैम है?
संगीता है, अभी उसने मैसेज डाला है।
हाँ
शी इज देयर, तो यू कैन स्टार्ट।
I start.
A very good afternoon to all of you. We are here for the second day of the 2 days national webinar on food and nutrition in present scenario of COVID-19. I, Dr. Garima Upadhyay, Associate Professor, Food and Nutrition, Department of Home Science, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya. I welcome you all on my behalf and on behalf of Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya. In the first session of today, the sub-theme is Nutrition Information Management Surveillance and Monitoring in Context of COVID-19. Surveillance and monitoring are critical components of a well-functioning public health system. Public health professionals use surveillance to assist them in performing many of their key functions like monitoring, vector control, responding to the outbreak of infectious disease, etc. Monitoring is keeping watch on how things are going on, and surveillance is ongoing activity and its collection of data for action. There are various objectives of surveillance, that is to monitor trends in COVID-19 disease at national and global level, provide epidemiological information to guide preparedness and response measures. As a nutrition community, we need to continue to develop our understanding on practical solutions for sustained collection, interpretation, analysis, and management of nutrition-related data for surveillance and monitoring of the nutrition situation and relevant nutrition programs in context of COVID-19. Nutrition data and information are critical to determine the nutritional status of population, and the nutritional status of populations or individuals has for long been considered as an indicator of resilience against destabilization. With this background, I welcome Professor Ratan Srivastav sir. Really, sir, we are honored to hear from you and get benefited from your expertise and your experience of 39 years. Sir is expert in epidemiology and health services research, health program evaluation, research methodology, telemedicine, and teleeducation. Various academic positions in national level multicentric studies. Sir has held various academic positions in national level and multicentric studies. He has been invited as international guest speaker in USA, Bangkok, and Hungary. Sir has a vast academic and administrative experience, and he has been a trainer of various national level programs and had a consultant at various services. He is the recipient of Scroll of Honor Award, Fellowship Award of Indian Society of Hypertension, Fellowship of International College of Nutrition Sciences. I welcome you, sir. Over to Professor Ratan Srivastav.
Thank you, Dr. Garima. And I'm really thankful to the organizer for giving me this opportunity, and so that I can share some of my views, because really this is a very, very critical situation. We all know that lot of hunger and there are many malnourished children, and our objective is that we can have beautiful, healthy children. And then nutrition expert people, they can certainly work in this line. So I was just going through this topic, and I just wanted to understand why this topic is important in today's context, in the context when this COVID epidemic is going on. We all know that this COVID pandemic, this has worked as a storm and a big disturbing thing. Like we all are in our home, that is a very peculiar situation. Otherwise, I would have come over there in front of, I think, in that college, and I would have delivered my talk from that place. But now I am speaking, I am sitting in my one room and switching on the light, and then this is a totally a new type of environment we are using. So see, so it means now just imagine how our worker can continue the monitoring and surveillance of nutrition related data, maybe anything. This is what I am going to discuss. So this is a really very, very important issue to discuss, how we can continue monitoring, how we can and go for surveillance about nutrition. And you know, this COVID crisis, this has damaged nutritional status. I think so, because we are not able to do anything for last 2 months. I think from 22nd March, almost we are facing this situation. And it has, if you consider 15th March to then it is 14th May, almost 2 months. And we all are inside our home, and we are only, our workers, they are busy. So this danger of COVID pandemic, this has declined dietary quality. Like, you know, that whatever I'm eating, like if I'm getting some vegetable, whatever vegetable I'm getting, I'm eating. Whatever, so there is a breakdown of food markets, and there are demand shocks, means reduced, demand has gone down. Whatever is available, people are eating. So it's going to lead to a big problem. There is a health care failure, like the strained healthcare system are forced to divert following. Like, I know the Anganwadi worker, the grassroots level worker, they were working for measurement, weight measurement of children, or some supplementary food provision. But now every worker is busy in searching COVID-19 patient. So it's a big, big challenge. Like, you know, that previously the workers, they were doing micronutrient supplementation, prevention, treatment of childhood diarrhea, acute malnutrition. We were handling these things. But now, I think in 2 months, situation must have gone very bad. I will show you one photograph in Dharavi, Mumbai. If you see that this person is sitting, he is waiting for the customer. And now people are not coming to buy egg because they are afraid of, because they cannot move to outside, and he is just waiting. So nutrition progress looks like threatened by COVID-19. Actually, my topic is there, that I'm going to talk about monitoring and surveillance. In the background is of this COVID-19 crisis. This is a big crisis. So why nutrition information management surveillance? Why? Like, you know, that children at present, I was reading that the old people, they are developing very serious type of illness. And if they are having comorbidity, like if they are having cardiovascular disease or diabetes, then they may develop some complication and may die. Mortality is very high. But as far as children are concerned, I think they are having milder symptoms. But we do not have much knowledge about the COVID-19 infection among children, like who are severely malnourished. We do not have data because we cannot have those informations. The problem is because of lockdown. So, and we also know that we presume that relative risk of complication may be lower in our country as compared to European country, but we do not know what will be the status of COVID-19 infection among undernourished children. You know, in Africa, 6.4% children are undernourished. In South Asia, about 14% children, they are having malnutrition. And the nutritional status of population in India, like the poor socioeconomic status, we must have seen people, they were moving like the all laborers. Now, what to talk about their nutritional status? Yes, yeah. See, the laborers, they are moving from one place to another. You can see that these poor people. So how can we expect a good hygiene? The water, like we are talking of wash your hand for 20 seconds. How can they maintain this when they are going to travel for 18 hours from one end, from Bombay to Uttar Pradesh or Bihar? See, another situation is good gap. Those who are rich children, perhaps they are getting, but even then I'm thinking of good quality of food. So there is a inequity also. So what we want, that all child should have at least good health. This is what we want. So how we can have? Why this nutrition information management surveillance is required? So I'm going to suggest some general recommendation that what are the problems and how to monitor. So, and you know, there is a need of a specific indicator to track COVID-19 also among children. We need to have those data, that and how the program is performing. It's very tough. We all are sitting at our home, and how can we get those data? Somehow we could develop this system of having conference, having meeting. Like at present we are having webinar and we are talking with each other, at least some 200 people or 400 people, those who are connected with us, they are listening, and we can share among ourselves. So malnutrition comorbidities, they are going to create a big problem, and then they will act as a risk factor to other illness. Like all the experts of nutrition discipline, they need to develop understanding or practical solutions for this. I will suggest that those who have kept their mic on, they can mute it. So it will reduce the disturbance. Please, all the listeners, if you have to say anything, certainly you can ask question, then you can so there will be, because I am taking lectures of students, so we follow this discipline, it becomes very easy to listen. Like, so the situation is at present, how can we continue collection of data? How can we interpret? How can we analyze in the absence? So how can we manage and the nutritional status? How can we do the surveillance? So what happens? There will be some risk of COVID-19 being transmitted during data. Like suppose we ask somebody that, okay, go in the field and collect the data regarding nutritional status, take weight, then certainly now situation is different. At present, because of COVID infection, it is not so easy. So there is a need of some innovative approach. I will suggest this group of intellectual people that we can sit and we can find out. Now here in our meeting, usually what happens, usually like a group of nutritionists or group of epidemiologists, then only we will sit. But here I will suggest that we must also invite somebody from information technology, IT, some computer science or information technology. We must invite, and not 1, 4, 5 people. So they can give, and some young people, some old people, so they can give some idea that how we can approach, how we can collect data. They will give the idea. Some of them, because many times we do not know few of the things which are already available in the market. So priority action needed is number 1, physical distancing. Now, previously, our worker or whosoever was going in the field, it was very convenient, nobody bothered, and it was very easy to go in the field and collect data. You take weight, you collect height, and collect some the measurement informations. But now you have to maintain physical distancing. So we have to develop a device. Either we teach parent with the help of online lectures or some way from distance, we teach parents and we suggest them how to take weight, height. At least parent can take height, and we can keep some weighing machine or some alternative that how they can take weight. Some method we have to devise. For poor people, it will be very difficult. So I'm going to give some suggestions that how to collect those measurements. Like COVID-19, one need to have minimal physical contact. Now that is very important. We all have to maintain it. We have to find out some measure. Like I'm delivering lecture from this place. So having no contact at all. But we can have a scientific deliberations. We can have discussions also. So it means we have to plan for collection of data, nutrition related, and that too with minimal physical contact. And we have to avoid close contact between individuals. Like we used to do mass screening, we used to do household visits, we used to do population-based survey, and we used to involve personal interaction. But now it will not be possible. The time has changed. So we have to find out existing digital platform. Yes, we may have to find out some mobile network plan, something different. Now that is the need of the hour. We have to sit and we have to decide so that how we can monitor, how we can continue with surveillance. We have been doing it. So certainly we need it at this hour. Now priority actions, I continue, that need to initiate necessary discussion. Yes, it will not happen with among ourselves. We should make a committee like our body, like you are having a body in the nutrition. So you must have discussion, means online meeting with Ministry of Health, online meeting with national sector or cluster coordination bodies, and possibly private sector also you involve, like mobile network operators, you involve them also. Use remote data collection procedure. So we have to decide some procedure how we can collect remote data. So you can conduct survey which will be web-based survey. Phone calls, you can make phone calls. You know that mobile phone is available everywhere. Now we may have to maintain a good list of mobile phone of each person or wherever we want to collect data. Like, then we must initiate effort to build capacity of community health worker. Yes, previously they were going house to house. Now we have to train them, additional training, like how they should not contact infection. Even our teacher, our students, our PhD students, those who are doing research in this field, and those workers who are working, many NGO are working. So everybody needs training for capacity building. So, and that too, we have to provide training that how without touching we can assess nutritional status. Now it is a totally new dimension and we have to work on this. We have to develop a new method, that no touch method. How can we collect data? And we need to track many children, those who are undernourished. Means suppose every month we need information. So we have to find a way out that how can, without touching them, without, so we have to develop that capacity. So we can track also those children, like we were using other methods. We were coming in contact, our workers were coming in contact with those workers. So these are important. We can collect some SMS through. Need to have a national nutrition information working group. Means this is that's my suggestion. We can have a working group in collaboration with different ministries or clusters, and we can have meetings. Certainly that meeting is required. We need to ensure participation with existing nutrition in emergency forum. Like we have to have a meeting with nutrition cluster meeting. We can have disease surveillance working group. Lastly, I have shown in the red slide that we should have national webinar as has been organized. I congratulate that this is a very good effort. Maybe if it is first effort in India, then I appreciate it, very much appreciate, because it is like a brainstorming session. Whatever issues I am raising as an epidemiologist, that these are, we have to keep in our mind. So this is one mega effort by the organizers, and I congratulate them. Yes, it's a very, very important thing. At least first time we are sitting and we are generating some thought so that what we can do. It means we must coordinate the utilization of nutrition. We are already having regarding monitoring, and you know that we are already having some data. We can do some work on them because many data are unutilized, and we have to develop strength that how can we analyze, how can we collect through online measures. And like I am just showing that antenatal care, this was our old technique. You can sit and you can, now we doctors, like I remember that now we are asking patient to sit at a distance. And now we are also going to use some BP measurement instrument, like one blood pressure measurement you use to remove cloth piece. Now we are having another blood pressure measurement instrument which you can put over the cloth. And when you take reading, you keep that and you take reading from not sitting in front of patient. You have to be on the side. He may cough He may sneeze, so you have to take precaution. You have to be. Now this picture I am showing, this was an old style, so we have to strengthen, we have to coordinate in taking antenatal care. So how to maximize existing data at present? If we are not getting new data, because at present we are having old data, so that data we are already having, so let us ensure utilization of at least those information which we are already having. We can do better planning, and in the meantime we can develop some online measures how to collect data, like population based survey. But I think we have to take precaution, and now is the time that we have to develop all nutrition based data. We should have a centralized database, so whenever your institution wants, they can collect from the centralized database. Whenever BHU wants, any university, any PhD student, we should have a centralized database. That is very important in future, so that you can maximize utilization of existing. We have important to update nutrition situation, and we can check performance of current data, and we need to use the data in the system, like improve early warning system, health management system, early warning system we are having. So we should limit. Now many people are very enthusiastic, they may develop new indicators. At the moment I will suggest, let us slow down of developing new indicators, because if you develop new indicator, you need all data and you analyze. So what we can do, we are already having data, and we can use our old indicators, or we can develop new indicators where old data can be utilized, and we can monitor, and we can do the surveillance accordingly. We can suggest, like we have to adjust reporting frequency. Like previously we were reporting every day, now we may reduce this. We can make it weekly, or we can make it monthly reporting system for monitoring. And we have to make nutrition data easily available. Now how? Dashboard, that is one thing. Dashboard, many people, they are not aware. Like report, we can have dashboard. In dashboard there are softwares available, and on dashboard you analyze data, and different combination, everything you get. So we call it, like our Mukesh Ambani, he uses dashboard. And there is a one software, we call it EP Info, that is for data. Like SPSS, we are having SPSS, you have to pay 12 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, then you can buy that SPSS. And parallel to SPSS, there is a software, we call it EP Info. And if group decides, I can train them how to use EP Info. You can download and you can use. You can consider it cost parallel to 10 lakh or 9 lakh, very costly, but it is free of cost, available on CDC website, and it is given for all medical research. And we are using in whole UK, they are using EP Info. So we can use dashboard and such software also. This is already available, they encourage. Kobo Toolbox is another. United Nations has provided Kobo Toolbox, so you can collect data from like Google Form, like it works Google Form like, but Kobo Toolbox. And the various scientists, they say, even EP Info, you can also collect data directly from mobile, and you can get into the computer. Now it has become almost possible, and there are many other software, so we have to learn those software now. So routine collection, it is disturbed, so we have to find some innovative way. And at present, we are depending on existing nutrition information. So what I want to suggest you to consider the latest data available, which is easily accessible to all because of this COVID infection. Now, potential adaptation is that we know we have output, like we have prevalence of wasting, because this is what output we will get. How many are overweight? I'm not going to read each and every. And input means how many like children are feeding, how many are dietary intake, because according to these things, dietary intake, we assess the nutrition level, so we get the output. And these are the resources, like you can collect data like infant and young child feeding practices, and so on. There are so many things you collect, and these are the resources. Yeah. So the need of time is, at present, the many times you listen news that these are green zone, the vehicles are permitted. So in green zone, we can plan the collection of data.
नितिन अब
In,
ऐसा पूछने लगा क्या हुआ कुछ नहीं वो करने दो ना मेरा भी काम होगा ना कुछ करने दो
ये माइक आप स्विच ऑफ कर लें, माइक खाली, बाकी आप बात करें, नो प्रॉब्लम. So the need of the time is that we know that our area is divided into red zone, green zone. So accordingly, so I have given a sample. So online training can be given like this is what. So next two slides I show you, you can see that like no population mobility. So in green zone, I'm not going to read it, but we can divide our data in such a way that we should have a policy, and for other two zones we can have partial and full population mobility. So means we can have another policy of data collection. This is what I suggest. So I have given over here. And now so necessary precaution must be taken by person, that to avoid contact, data collector should stay at home if he shows any sign symptoms. So it means we must teach, like if there is a fever, sore throat, we have to give a checklist that if you are suffering from this, then he has to undergo quarantine for 14 days. Because otherwise, if a health worker goes and meets different people in rural area or in urban area, then he will be spreading infection. Now, this is a new challenge we have to face for the monitoring and surveillance. We have to suggest for washing anthropometric equipments with soap, like suppose the height board. Now we have to wash. Soap is very effective. You apply for 20 seconds, then you can. Electronic scale, we have to certainly, we have to see that what you do, you take soap and you do not pour a lot of water. You keep soap and then you apply soap. So water doesn't enter. Then you apply soap, you wait for half a minute or 1 minute, and then you take dry cloth and you clean it. So that you keep that weighing machine, the electronic weighing machine. But you have to avoid salter scale. Salter scale, you have to hang the child, and then it may come in contact with different children. Because for the time being, I will suggest, or hanging pants, you have to just avoid at the present. Because same, if different children will get exposure, so we have to, like mid upper arm circumference measurement scale. So what you have to do between every use, we have to clean it. You can make chlorinated water, like about 20 gram, 4 spoon in 1 liter of water. You shake it, filter it, and you keep it. It can also act as a desanitization at household level. And you ensure physical safe distance. And that is very important. I'm just telling you that these are the required. And data collector, the person who is collecting data, must wear mask, and we have to train them how to wear mask, the outer surface of mask, and then how they have to use gloves, and they have to take out, they have to clean. So they have to take, and the proper disposal, we have to train them. So, and then positioning of data collector, like suppose you are taking reading middle up upper arm circumference. So usually what happens, we stand in front of the child or in front of the person. So what at present we have to do, we can stay on the back of the, and we can take reading, and the face can be in the front. So that precaution we have to teach. And then we have to practice infection prevention and control measures. That is in brief IPC, infection prevention and control measures. There is a long list, because in 20 minutes I cannot cover all the things, but simply I want to highlight, yes, we have to use it, like washing hand for 20 seconds. You can sing a song like I just don't remember, but एक song है बड़ा अच्छा पुराना, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. आप हाथ धोइए and you use सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा, हम बुलबुले हैं उनके ये गुलिस्तां हमारा, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. This you say only this much. You see, watch, and it will be 20 minutes. You just sing that song, सारे जहां से अच्छा, and then you any song you see, watch that it takes 20 seconds, and then always whenever you are washing your hand, you sing that song. If song is over, it means you have utilized 22nd. It's very important. And disinfect frequently touched surface and object. That we have to. Now I'm showing you certain resources. These are resources I have used. And again, these are another resources. Yes, I have used. And these are the references which were used. So I'm showing you different food items. Now the question is that I will summarize a carry home message that we have to educate to consume and supply healthy food. That is one. We have to collect and analyze data with safety. That is second important message. And lastly, for nutrition monitoring and surveillance. And that's all. Thanks. My talk is over. Over to organizer. Yes, I have closed my presentation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your
Okay.
questions, participants, your questions are invited. Sir is with us.
Yes.
Can I ask something?
Yeah,
Seema
sure,
Puri
ma'am.
here. It's not asking really, but I'd really like to congratulate Dr. Srivastava with excellent presentation. My request to the organizers is that it's such valuable information. It'll be nice if you could share it, and also at the end of this webinar, if you could send your recommendations to Niti Aayog and the ministry, it would be very, very useful because they are looking for inputs and suggestions. And Dr. Srivastava's presentation is really, really relevant in this time of monitoring of nutrition status of children, especially.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. And I will share my presentation with Dr. Garima.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. I would like to definitely have a copy. I learned a lot today.
Yeah, I will
Yes,
share it, ma'am. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, there is one question from participant. Are clinical trials suggested in the near future?
Okay. Actually, it's a very, very immediately it has occurred. And we are fighting with basically health problem at present. Only, you see, at present, all hospitals, we are not, the doctors, they are not looking to the routine patients. Only we are attending emergency. Now 2 months have passed, but we have to attend normal patients, and then like diabetes, hypertension or cardiovascular problem. So only we are attending emergency at present. Because the problem is that we want to avoid further spread of infection. Now I think very rightly this issue of nutrition has come up, and this learned group or the organizers, I am very happy that they have raised this issue, and this is, I think, very right time that they have raised this issue. So something after this webinar, something will come out and some recommendation will go, or we can plan something. We can have a meeting also. So at present, no clinical trial I have heard. Whatever clinical trial is going, clinical trial are going for treatment of patient and for vaccine preparation. We are not doing any clinical trial on nutrition. Yes, some Ayurvedic people are saying that that these are good for increasing immunity of body. So that type of people are doing, but I have not come across any good clinical trial at present, because we all are shocked. I told you that it has come as a storm. It has come very, very as a disturbing. So we want to stand, and I think I'm happy that this issue has taken up, and I think people will think now about nutrition.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
The complete name of EpiInfo, so that we can search and find out and use it for the statistical analysis in nutrition.
Okay. That is the complete name. We write EPI, that is for epidemiology. Info means information, like IT means information technology. So they have taken epidemiological information. Actually, nobody has written full form. That is the full form, EpiInfo. Every time we get, at present, perhaps 19th version has come up. And another good thing is that I was trainer in Gujarat, and I'm a trainer of EP Info, so that I can share. That is not a problem. Someday we can sit some 20 or 150 people, and I can just show you, demonstrate you, and at least minimum 1 hour is required. I can show you how, and then people can play, and I can guide, and then people can start using it. That is not. It is free of cost.
Sir, hello.
Ji, ji.
Sir, you have given us chance to connect to you once again.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in organizing this training program of
Yeah.
EP Info, and
Yes.
it will be very much useful for us. So in near
Yes.
future, we'll again ask you to do so, sir.
Yes, Dr. Garima.
Yes,
One
sir.
good thing that before the pandemic, I was not aware of this online teaching and online learning or online meeting. We were only doing face to face. So we have learned a new technology, a use of new technology. So I want to inform this group that I will be superannuating on 30th of June, because I will become 65-year-old and I will retire from BHU. So then I will be shifting to Lucknow. So if you keep somewhere in September, so wherever I will be in Lucknow, but you can contact me and I can sit and I can discuss. That is not a
Yes, sir.
problem.
Sure, sir. Sure.
I'm
Okay.
connected
Thank
with Varanasi very well, and I will remain connected. No problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Because of the time constraint, we are not able to take up more questions. There are so many, but sorry, participants. Over to Dr. Sangeeta Devariya,
Okay.
Head of
Thank you.
Department, Home Science. Sorry. Hello.
Hello. हाँ गरिमा, I'm
Over
here.
to Dr. Priyanka, Assistant Professor, Home Science, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your excellent and thought-provoking lecture on the topic Nutrition Information Management, Surveillance and Monitoring in the Context of COVID-19. It is clear by sir that COVID had destroyed our nutritional status. So as a nutrition community, we need to find practical solution for the sustained collection, interpretation, analysis, and management of nutrition-related data for surveillance and monitoring of nutrition situation and relevant nutrition program in the context of COVID-19. In this time of physical distancing, for routine data collection through population-based survey and other nutritional assessment, we need to explore other innovative ways such as mobile technology, web-based survey, e-health platforms, EP info software for tracking the cases of malnutrition such as stunting, wasting, undernutrition, overnutrition during COVID-19. Today, lecture was very concise and informative, and all the participants are surely benefited by this lecture. On behalf of our principal, Dr. Rachna Srivastava, and our whole organizing committee, I would like to thank you, sir, for your gracious presence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, in the present scenario of COVID-19, we should have to change our attitude and lifestyle. In this time, food and nutrition is the only remedy which can bring full recovery and can be used for the treatment of COVID-19. It is also said, let your food be your medicine. WHO has recently emphasized the importance of healthy diet and adequate nutrition to boost up our immunity, and a healthy immune system play a vital
can I
role
ask
in
you one
defending
question?
our body against disease and infection. In this lecture series, now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Seema Purima, Associate Professor, Institute of Home Economics, University of Delhi. She has over 30 years of teaching and research experience. She conferred Distinguished Service Award by Geriatric Society of India. She has undertaken counseling assignments for the UN, WFP, WHO, UNICEF, etc. She has been in several DST and ICMR project review groups. She is also a member of FSSAI. She is associated with several food-related companies as a consultant in research strategies and new product law. Presently, she is executive council member of NSI and member of several academic boards. Now, I would like to request Dr. Seema Puri ma'am to deliver her fruitful lecture on the topic Creative a Healthy Food Environment during COVID-19. Please, ma'am, enlighten us with your thoughts. Seema Puri ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mm, I hope I'm visible. But thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. And it's been a very fruitful 2 days of deliberation. And as I mentioned earlier, you must take this forward by sending your recommendations to the government at various forums, the Niti Aayog, the ministries of health and family welfare, women, child development. And I have a very difficult act to follow. Dr. Srivastav's talk was par excellence, but I'm going to talk about something which is affecting all of us. What about the food environment? And there are so many concerns regarding the food that has to be eaten, how safe is it, what should we do? And therefore, I'm going to give you a brief presentation. There are lots and lots of misbeliefs and fads which are going around. Some kind of magical cures and magical preventive treatments are being broadcasted. But let's get down to brass tacks and see what is the actual situation. I'm trying to share my presentation. Can people see it? Is it visible?
मैम स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए.
स्क्रीन शेयर तो नहीं आ रहा ना. स्क्रीन शेयर कैंसिल करके. ओके. एंटायर स्क्रीन.
बात नहीं, हम कर दे रहे हैं.
अच्छा, आप कर दीजिए फिर. Like sir said, we are learning a new technology. We are used to face-to-face teaching, and now technology sometimes beats us. So I think, is it visible to everybody? No.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so it's not visible to me, but anyway, you can guide me. So I'm talking about creating a healthy food environment in these COVID-19 times. And I'm going to divide my presentation into three. What is the impact of COVID-19 on the food environments? What is the nutrition guidance with COVID-19? And the other aspect is food safety, which is relatively also very, very important. In fact, more important than the others. So as you can see, we have a lot of social distancing, closure of shops, lockdowns, displaced labor, migrants, a whole lot of environmental issues in the food environment, which are really affecting the health as well as the, in fact, lives of individuals in our country. And we do know that there has been a lot of derangement in the day-to-day food supply mechanisms, and therefore the components of the food systems are getting affected. And this is not only in our country, but it's all over the world. Now, when we look at the food environment as such, we have an external dimension, which sometimes is not in our control, and to some extent the personal dimensions where we are in control of the situation. So the external dimensions would be, volatility in prices, availability of food, lack of vendors around the place, closure of shops, while personal dimensions would be affordability, convenience, the kind of food we'd like to eat. So when we look at this in detail, if you look at the food system, we have the food system, the food supply coming into the food system, and the exit is based on the consumer behavior. Now, what comes in between is what I've listed out here, and also to see what are the possible impacts of COVID on this food environment. So we have the external domain, which is the availability, whereas there may be, there was a big panic of stockpiling. People were buying supplies for 6 months and there was shortage of even cereal grains, pulses and things like that. There could be import-export restrictions, fruit and vegetable shortages, and donations in food banks and things like that. Then, of course, food prices, they're still going through the roof, particularly for fruits and vegetables. Shortage in supply chain, and therefore there are shortage of food products in the market. The access to reach the market has been hampered with states closing their borders. And because of that, a lot of food wastage is also happening. And then, of course, new policies coming in where shops are not allowed to open, malls are not opening, only essential items are available. At the personal level, accessibility. So less access because you cannot go very far off, whether the food that you're getting near your house is nutritious or not. Then a major impact has been on this government programs, ICDS, midday meal. Because the schools have been closed, children are not getting midday meal. There is going to be a tremendous long-term impact on the nutritional status of these children. So these social protection measures have got disrupted. And of course, while online ordering has become very common, there are limits to that also. And then, of course, affordability, I don't need to emphasize on. Convenience is there, and then desirability. We are all purchasing more ultra-processed foods, and because we feel they have a longer shelf life and they're easier to cook, and people are not ordering from outside, they're going more into cooking, so there is that ease. And all this affects the consumer behavior, which ultimately affects the diet quality. And the diet quality, once affected, will lead to malnutrition, like I said. And our goal is to avoid that. Our goal is to actually have sustainable, healthy diets for all. So this is one example. Shopping is something we look forward to today. It is the only connect we have with our old world, with the normal life we were leading. But even that is fraught with a lot of problems, as you can say, long queues, social distancing, non-availability, and things like that. So what are some of the policy actions which can be taken to improve the food environments? Our ultimate aim, remember, is to support sustainable, healthy diets for all. So these are broadly based. These are given by the UN, so they are globally based. But many of them can apply to our country, and many countries have adopted these. So promote smooth food trade. Support and protect smallholder farmers and get them the market access. Support the planting and harvesting cycles. Support local food systems and link them with major food chains. Monitor food prices, food security indicators, malnutrition. Dr. Srivastava has gone into this in detail. And adopt subsidies and taxes for nutritious food. Again, strengthen and adapt social protection policies. So programs like in ICDS, now they're promoting take-home ration, but that itself is not being implemented so well. Include food systems and food supply chain actors as essential services. So again, protecting these workers, even your Zomato and people doing home delivery, they need to be protected. Upkeep of fortification programs, and then support major food providers to undertake need-based purchasing so that there is availability in the market. So many governments at all levels are applying this, but a lot more needs to be done. Now, at the personal food environment level, what can we do? We have to improve accessibility and affordability. We should look at food rationing systems. It may be a very drastic issue, but I remember in the 1960s when there was war, food rationing was being done. And if it comes to that situation, it may need to be adopted. We need to use the food-based dietary guidelines as the basis for healthy diets and form policies based on that. And most important is to strengthen nutrition education and messaging, because there are a lot of myths going around. invest in scale-ups, explore digital and other innovative approaches for food provision. I mean, today if you see, all online platforms are delivering groceries. Reach vulnerable populations, improve wholesale markets, support local government actions to strengthen food supply and food environments. So whether it's the local RWA or the local civil society, we need to support them. And we must remember it should be a human rights-based approach. So everybody has a right to food. And it's very sad when you see all these migrants who are traveling 1,500 kilometers without food. It really hurts, it really pains to see that we as Indians have not been able to support them. So food is a basic necessity, and there was a lot of panic which was caught in this, which caught us all, but it has taught us to survive in a limited commodity status. And it has brought the entire nation to a similar scale, which may be the good lessons learned from where we were heading towards earlier. But then the crisis may aggravate the malnutrition problem, especially among the vulnerable groups. And children are very, very badly affected. Like I said, with ICDS and MDM coming to a halt, it's not only food, but even things like immunization has come to a halt. And this will have long-term repercussions on the health of these children. So basically, financial hardships, reduced physical activity, altered purchasing powers, poorer nutrition profiles will ultimately lead to high food insecurity, undernutrition, and in other populations, overweight and obesity. When we look to nutrition advice in the COVID epidemic, broadly, this is the advice which is based on the food-based dietary guidelines. We all know that overweight and obesity, as well as NCDs, are a very big risk factor to govern the outcome of COVID. The mortality rates are much higher in patients of COVID who are obese and with NCDs. So unhealthy diets is a very big issue which we need to take care of. Eat a healthy, balanced diet based on FBDGs, fruits and vegetables. Along with that, minimize stress, because stress and being physically active, getting enough sleep will promote immune function. There is currently no convincing evidence that any food can prevent or treat COVID-19. There are several nutrients, several foods which have phytochemicals, which may help to, they have an important role to play in our immune system. But there is no cure or prevention through food for COVID-19. So that's a very important message. Sorry, I think I skipped a slide. So what do? Eat fresh and minimally processed foods and stay hydrated. So like I said, our FBDGs, limit your fat, sugar, and salt, maintain ideal body weight, drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water, avoid caffeine, alcohol, sweetened beverages. And again, there is no evidence that consumption of animal foods leads to a higher risk of acquiring COVID-19. Just ensure that the non-vegetarian food is cleaned and cooked properly. This is the food pyramid given by NIN, which shows what are the kind of foods which we have to have. So basically, we are a cereal-based nation, plenty of vegetables and fruits, and a moderate amount of animal foods and milk and egg. And of course, the HFSS, the high fat, sugar, salt, has to be minimal. So these are some posters by UNICEF. What all do we need to eat? I've already told you. And what is important is portion control. We're sitting at home, working from home, eating too much. So these are some ideas about portion control. How much is one portion of butter? Just the tip of your thumb. How much is a portion of paneer or meat or eggs? One fistful. Nuts, fistfuls. So there's some ideas for that. Then again, if you are not able to get fresh foods, look at other alternatives like dried foods, like pulses, cereals, dried vegetables, sprout pulses, ferment foods, but definitely avoid sweets and salty snacks. There are many, many more healthier options which can be eaten in that case. Like I said, stay physically active because that will also provide vitamin D. Vitamin D benefits the immune system. So exposure to sunlight for at least 30 to 40 minutes. physical activity, at least 8 hours of sleep every day, and stress minimization. The other day I was listening to again a webinar, and this gentleman was a very esteemed speaker, immunity expert from Harvard, and he kept emphasizing on the fact that rather than diet, we have to minimize stress. So whatever is stress reduction, whether it's painting, it's music, it's playing games, it's meditating, you choose your own way and minimize stress. Are there any foods that boost our immune system? Like I said, currently no convincing evidence that any food or dietary pattern can boost our immune system and prevent or treat COVID. Of course, we do know that there are several important nutrients which play an important role, and these foods I've listed here, which are rich in micronutrients, polyphenols, antioxidants, so nuts and oil seeds, herbs and spices. We have a very rich diversity in these. Green leafy vegetables, your colored, red, orange, yellow colored fruits and vegetables. Prebiotics are very important. So eating a fiber-rich diet. Probiotics and fermented foods also support the gut microbiome. And then the N3 fatty acid-rich fish and all. Now, these foods are also protective against chronic degenerative diseases. But like I said, there is no evidence yet from the current outbreak that eating such foods has protected people from the coronavirus. When we look at food safety, I will go through this very fast because I think you have an overdose of these kind of things. But some queries. Does packaging help transmit COVID-19? There's no evidence of food or food packaging being associated with transmission of COVID-19. And of course, you can report the contact of the food delivery person rather than by touching a packet, but definitely remove any excess packaging and dispose it off. Wash your hands definitely for 20 seconds. That's a message which is going everywhere. And use unpackaged foods like vegetables and fruit should be washed under running water. Again, on separate cooking chopping boards. I mean, all precautions need to be taken. Use clean vegetable utensils and plates. So these are some things which will become a lifestyle for us very soon. And while taking precautions while grocery shopping, maintain social distancing, wash your hands, do not touch your face, limit the number of trips to the market, use separate slippers for going out, have a clean shopping bag. So in the long run, what do we expect and how can we protect ourselves? COVID-19 may lead to drastic reductions in diet quality. It will threaten maternal and child health directly or indirectly. How to protect? We have to keep our agri-food systems functioning. We are lucky we still have a lot of agriculture in India and that's going on. Facilitate innovation in food systems, whether it is in food production, whether it's in delivery, like Dr. Srivastav said, even innovation in nutrition monitoring, how to monitor without touching the patient. So food system, right from the production to the delivery and consumption, there has to be innovations. Home food production, promotion of kitchen gardens, school gardens would again become a very important aspect, and find innovative ways to stimulate demand for nutrient-rich foods. And the social safety net programs will have to focus not only on quantity, but also on the diet quality. So that means the focus on fruits and vegetables, micronutrient-rich foods, maybe fortified foods would be greater in coming times. Thank you. So I think that's the end of my presentation.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Now the questions are invited from participants.
Ma'am, that was really wonderful and excellent presentation.
Thank you.
You really shared very good scientific and practical information with all of us. Thank you so much.
So, ma'am, there is a question. What would you advise or suggest for PhD research scholars
to take up during COVID times?
Yeah.
Well, it's, there is, in fact, in the university, there's been a lot of debate on this also, because we now have our PhD students wanting to start their research. The situation is that a lot more focus is going to be on secondary review. So using advanced statistical tools to, like using national data or using data which is already available to arrive at future projections. That would be one. But yes, definitely to actually monitor the status of nutrition, or especially among the vulnerable groups, the children, the pregnant and lactating mothers would be very, very important. And I'm sure there will be no new innovative measures which will come in. Another important area for people interested in food production would be innovations in development of products. So development of food products would be another important aspect. A lot of work is going on translational aspects. So, there are a lot of claims by Ayurvedic specialists about certain foods being beneficial for immunity. So it may be worthwhile kind of validating those foods. So there would be a greater focus on lab-based research rather than going out into the community. When one is going out into the community, it would be with full precautions and maybe, very well-managed groups. So I don't think a PhD student in a university, unless they're affiliated with a medical group undertaking COVID research, they would be able to really go and do the research in the community. Those are some of my ideas.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. There is one more question. Local को हम कैसे promote कर सकते हैं?
लोकल को फूड में तो बहुत आसान है प्रमोट करना. आप if you look at this, we have a very rich diversity of crops and foods, and I always say that every state in our country is like an independent country of Europe. So the green leafy vegetables that you say get in Uttarakhand would be very different from the green leafy vegetables you get in Maharashtra. So it would be very useful to look at what is available in our local scenario. We have forgotten many of them. Even fruits, even berries. I always say the younger generation doesn't know what a phalsa is. They've never heard of shatut. So the traditional foods, even the traditional millets, there are so many. So it would be really useful to look at the local availability, the local production, and help to, teach. I think we need to teach this generation how to incorporate those foods into our daily diet, which at one time used to be understood, or taken for granted. So that's another. Yeah.
One question from my side, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
What is the role of fasting in this present scenario?
Fasting.
Yes.
As you're talking about fasting, like intermittent fasting and all, to reduce weight?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello?
Fasting as such has been traditional in our society. I remember in the 1960s, like I said, Jawaharlal Nehru had given a message that everybody should keep a fast once a week to conserve food. At that time, we were not a self-reliant nation. Today, thankfully, we are a self-reliant nation in terms of food, so we don't need to come to those kind of steps. But fasting, especially for diabetics or hypertensive or elderly people, is a little dangerous. And there is no harm for young people if they want to keep a fast. It's also a way of detoxifying the body. It's also a way of avoiding to eat junk food, but not on a regular or a continuous basis.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am,
Thank you.
for so informative lecture. Now switch over to Dr. Sangeeta Devariya. Hello.
Yes.
Over to Dr. Sangeeta Devariya. Hello, Sangeeta ma'am.
संगीता माइक ऑन नहीं है, माइक ऑन कर लो संगीता.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam. I would like to propose a special vote of thanks to Dr. Seema Puri ma'am for an informative and elaborate presentation on topic creating a healthy food environment in COVID-19. In presentation, main focus is on that during COVID-19, food environment are rapidly changing. Interaction between people and food system is also modifying speedily. External dimension factors such as food availability, price, vendor, and personal factors such as affordability, convenience, impact on people's and community food environment. People who are suffering from non-communicable diseases having high risk of becoming ill during this period. Madam, you explained very well about the safety measures, what are to be taken during this period. And also you explained in elaborate way for maintaining a good and healthy diet is an important part of supporting a strong immune system. We should eat a variety of fresh foods and processed foods to get vitamin, minerals, dietary fibers, and antioxidants which are needed for our body. As per recommended by dietary allowances, we must take food allowances. Madam, I truly thankful to you for providing such a detailed and informative elaborate lecture, and it will be helpful us to maintain our better nutritional and food status. Thank you, madam. Now, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I also enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This was the 2 days national webinar on food and nutrition in present scenario of COVID-19. It can be concluded that nutritional advice does not change because of the pandemic. Nutritional advice does not change because of the pandemic. Hello? Hello?
हाँ गरिमा बोलो, गरिमा बोलो,
This
सुनाई
was
दे रहा है.
2 days national webinar on food and nutrition in present scenario of COVID-19. It can be concluded that nutritional advice does not change because of the pandemic, but it does take on added urgency. So let's face this situation as a wake-up call towards a healthier, more nutritious future. Now, I'm going to present a brief report of this 2 days national webinar. 2 days national webinar on food and nutrition in present scenario of COVID-19 was organized on 13th and 14th May 2020 by Department of Home Science, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Varanasi. This webinar should be seen as a call to action to tackle the present scenario and face new normal The whole focus was on food environment and food system at different levels, individual, community, even policy, national level, etc. To fulfill the objectives of webinar, we had 4 guest speakers who updated us about various dimensions. In the first session on 13th, first speaker was Ms. Urvashi Prasad, Public Policy Specialist, Niti Aayog. She very precisely and clearly highlighted that the impact of COVID-19 on policy action to deliver sustainable, healthy diet for all. Ma'am has very clearly stated that the focus group are the vulnerable groups and malnourished groups, and there is a need to tie up of the civil society, as government alone cannot cope with this situation. And there is a very important role of micro level intervention. During our second session, Dr. Neeru Nathani, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Swasthya and Yoga, Faculty of Ayurveda, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, was our guest speaker. And in her informative lecture, she emphasized about the holistic approach and personalized nutrition. She very elaborately discussed the congenial food and practices for immunity modulating diet, and very practical suggestions were given by her. Today, on 14th of May 2020, in the first session, Professor Ratan Kumar Srivastava was the guest speaker, who emphasized on the present situation, which is very critical, and the whole nutritional status is damaged, and healthcare is also on the verge of failure. So he prioritized what are the actions needed in this time of physical distancing, and various methods of data collection, the challenges faced during data collection. So he suggested that there is a need for innovative ways of data collection. And sir's lecture was very informative. Different aspects were very discussed clearly. He emphasized to practice IPC, infection prevention and control. And the important points of his lecture were to educate the consumer about healthy food, how the data can be collected safely, and nutritional monitoring, and information about various softwares which can be used for data collection in this scenario. And in the last session, a very practical, a very useful lecture was delivered by Dr. Seema Puri, Associate Professor, Institute of Home Economics, Delhi University. Ma'am has highlighted the impact of COVID on food environment, nutrition guidance, and food safety. The different dimensions of food environment were discussed, and very practical suggestions were given which can be adopted in day-to-day life to lead a healthy life in this era of COVID-19. She also mentioned about the informations which are available in this time. So she highlighted that there is importance of nutrition education, especially in this period, because when people are anxious or when there is anxiety about something, it is natural that they try to think, search for something that can create miracle. So ma'am has also focused that there is no such miracle food. So there is very important role of nutrition education in present time, and promotion of kitchen and school garden was also highlighted by her. I thank you for all the eminent guest speakers for this informative speech, enlightening speech, and benefiting us. In this 2 days national webinar, there were participants from all over the country, and they had a very, it was a very enthusiastic participation. Overall, now we have come to the end of this 2 days national webinar. And at the end, I have the responsibility to propose vote of thanks, because feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like a wrapping a present and not giving it. So I should give the present. I would convey my deep sense of gratitude to the guest speakers for sparing their time and enriching us with their expertise. I extend my thanks to the participants for their huge response and enthusiastic participation. Let me extend my thanks to the manager of Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Srimati Uma Bhattacharya, who had always been with us and whose presence is always a morale boost for us. Thanks to our principal, Professor Rachna Srivastava, for her foresight and constant motivation. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sangeeta Devariya, Head of Department, Home Science, for her constant guidance and encouragement. A very special thanks to the faculty of members of the Home Science Department and members of organizing committee also, Dr. Anshu Shukla, Dr. Priyanka and Dr. Sunita Dikshit, and all the staff of the Home Science Department, research scholars who stood by constantly at various fronts. I also extend my thanks to the faculty, to the whole staff of Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, teaching as well as non-teaching, for their constant support. My thanks are to the administrative officer, Ms. Annapurna Vishwakarma, Ms. Bharti, Shri Kapil Yadav, and for technical assistance, Chandrakant Chatterjee. Special thanks to entire VKM family. Thank you. There is one information. After this, the webinar will be over. You will be sent a feedback form. Kindly fill it and return to us. And the certificates of the webinar will be given within 10 days. Thank you. Thank you for your participation and making this program a success. हेलो हेलो
हाँ मैम, ओवर हो गया।
आवाज आ रही थी?
हाँ हाँ आ रही थी।
ओके, हाँ ठीक हो गया।
ओके।